The NHL is terrified of the Edmonton Oilers as they continue their road trip by beating down the Boston Bruins last night at TD Garden, which is not a very easy place to play. All that and more today on Oilers Digest. But first, we are 30 subscribers away from 2,500 subscribers. 30 goals. Leon Draisaitl has 30 subscribers away from 2,500. Coincidence? I think not. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for helping us here on the channel. And folks, if you have not yet subscribed already, what are you waiting for? The Oilers kicking it into high gear as we are approaching the midway point of the Oilers season. But like I alluded to in the intro, a Beantown beatdown. Yes, last night the Oilers rolled into Boston, Massachusetts last night, and not only did they win against the Boston Bruins, again, beat down by the score of 4-0. Of course, Boston coming into this one with a bit of a losing streak, and the Oilers adding on to that. Of course, in prior years, the Oilers would be the type of team to, bust the slump of other teams. If a team's rolling into Edmonton, or Edmonton's rolling into a city and that team is on a losing streak, more often than not the Oilers were the ones to beat it, but not last night. In the first period, Adam Henrique opens it up with a very nice assist from Corey Perry behind the net and a secondary assist from Brett Kulak. Adam Henrique again hasn't had the strongest stretches of games, but found his way last night. And there's a bit of an interesting, not interesting, there's a bit of a scary incident regarding Stuart Skinner towards the end of the first period last night. Nikita Zadorov of the Boston Bruins barreling towards the net and takes out Stuart Skinner in the process. Again, looked scary when you put it in slow motion like that, but Stuart Skinner pulled for 5 minutes out of that game. You can see Brett Kulak wondering where the call was. There was a call for goalie interference, but Brett Kulak, again, great start to the season for him and Stuart Skinner. He managed to find his way back into the game in the second period, so disaster avoided. But the Oilers continued it on in the second and third period. There, Connor McDavid from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there, that came off of a fantastic breakaway save on Pavel Zacha from Stuart Skinner, and then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins found his way up the ice, finding Connor McDavid, and Connor McDavid making it 2-0 Oilers. And Adam Henrique, again, second goal of the game for his fifth of the year from that newly formed third line for the Oilers with Jeff Skinner, Adam Henrique, and Zach Hyman, which has been the Oilers' best third line in years. And of course, Boston sort of poured it on in the third period, but Victor Arvidsson finding the empty net and making it 4-0 Oilers. Watch. Again, very dominant win coming from the Oilers last night. Shots on goal 39-26 in favor of Edmonton. You can see the hits chart there. Boston was just throwing anybody whenever they could for a hit, and they were just running around all night long, and the Oilers took advantage of that. They also took advantage of the faceoff draw, winning 7 more than the Boston Bruins, 27-20, and Edmonton killing off both Boston power plays, with Boston coming into this one with a very atrocious power play rate during this season. And Boston, of course, just looked very lost last night on their power play. Even when you have a guy like David Pastrnak on that power play, just could not get anything going. But what you can see here, 3 players here, they did get it going. Stuart Skinner, despite that scare, 26 saves for an unofficial shutout. I will get to that in a little bit later. But Adam Henrique, 2 goals, +2 on the night, and Connor McDavid getting back into the scoring column, going, I believe it was 7 games without a goal. And Stuart Skinner had this to say about, the incident with Zadorov when it comes to the concussion spotters and getting pulled from the game. He says, I think they get a call from Toronto. TD, which is TD4, is the Oilers' head athletic therapist or whatever the role is. He said he warned me when we were on the ice. He asked me how I was feeling, and obviously with all the protocol he's got to do, he just said, I don't really have too much control, so if they call down, you got to come out. It is what it is. They call down, and honestly, it's a smart call. He got me pretty good. I think that's like the fifth hit I've got this year, which, again, very scary. You don't want your goalie to get hit at all, but Stuart Skinner, he is made of steel. But he, which is Zadorov, apologized at the start of the second period, which was really nice of him to do. It's an NHL play, and it happens. I know on social media there during the first intermission, many were calling for Zadorov's heads. Like, why is nobody, standing up for Stuart Skinner? In this in this scenario here, when he's ran into, when nothing is done about it, the only, fisticuffs that did occur last night were Trent Frederick in Corey Perry, but it wasn't much of a fight. It was just Frederick punching Corey Perry's helmet. But yeah, there's not much of a response. But Stuart Skinner, he said he'd rather, the Oilers to, make the Bruins pay for it on the score sheet than in the penalty box. You know what? That's a mature take. That is the complete correct take. Say it what you want. You can get physical in the playoffs, but it's the beginning of January. You still have lots of hockey to play. And when it comes to the expected goals in the analytics last night, again, the Oilers, no matter how the numbers say it, dominated the Bruins in all aspects. Expected goals 5.4 to Boston's 2.48. So that pretty much means, Skinner and Pickard, to an extent, had a goal saved above expected of 2.48, which, again, phenomenal work from both goaltenders, even though Pickard was only in there for about 5 minutes. And the Oilers all over Jeremy Swayman last night. And then Boston, to an extent, not too much all over Stuart Skinner there, but they did have their chances. There were a few breakaways there. Of course, there was the Pavel Zacha breakaway and then the John Beecher breakaway in the third period, both from Evan Bouchard, who had a good game, but again, those two breakaways, not his strongest suit. But the Oilers, again, all over in the dirty areas, which Zach Hyman and Kris Knoblauch alluded to earlier in the season. They had to get back to the dirty areas in order to find their offensive spark. And the Oilers, when it comes to the hockey stat card here, Brett Kulak having himself a monster game. He's been the Oilers' most underrated defenseman so far this season. Of course, Ty Emberson, again, great game from him. Adam Henrique, good bounce back game for him. And, all the usual suspects. Really, the only detriment was Matisse Janmark, but I didn't think he had that bad of a game last night, which just goes to show you, sometimes these hockey stat cards, again, not a be-all, end-all when it comes to, the final assessment of a hockey game. It's just a nice tool to have to sort of help you assess the game at the end. And of course, the natural stat trick, Corsi for, Corsi against, Corsi for, percentage, all those stat charts. You can see there, Draisaitl being Leon Draisaitl, being dominant, Evan Bouchard again, analytical, superhero, analytical darling, as many would like to say. But again, had some mistakes last night, but again, young defenseman, you can't ask too much of him, but still one of the Oilers' best defensemen so far this year. And all four lines are absolutely rolling, especially that second line of Victor Arvidsson, Leon Draisaitl, in Vasily Podkolzin, dominating at all ends of the ice there with the Corsi 4 and against limiting shots, while again dominating and peppering Jeremy Swayman and Nugent-Hopkins, McDavid, and Connor Brown. Again, formidable first line there. I know many wouldn't say Connor Brown is a first liner, but he works rather well. And of course, when it comes to Corsi for and Corsi against, again, with, mini analytics, doesn't match up with the eye test, as I thought Hyman, Henrique, and Skinner had a very, very good game last night. It's kind of hard to point out who had a bad game. I don't think anybody had an egregiously bad game, but even, a guy like Josh Brown, buried, minutes-wise, held his own, but it wasn't the worst. And that's exactly what you need out of a game from the Oilers against an opponent like the Bruins. Again, not easy to win in TD Garden. And Stuart Skinner agrees with that. He said it was amazing. I think the way we've been defending has been very impressive. You can just tell that by the number of shots that we give up throughout the night. But I think even when you get a team come in and get a lot of shots, we're still defending really, really well and keeping things to the outside and just battling. A great team effort here tonight. It's hard to get wins in this building, so it feels good to get one. But Stuart Skinner, unfortunately, did not get the shutout last night against the Bruins. Of course, he was pulled for 5 minutes there, and Calvin Pickard took over. Didn't really do a whole lot, no saves. He was just kind of there to man the crease while Stuart Skinner was getting checked up on by the concussion spotter. But you know what? Let's just get the shutout to him anyway. Why not? Stuart Skinner, have yourself a night. Morally, second shutout of the year for Skinner and his sixth on the crew. I know it's not official, but you know what? Just give it to him. Just give Stuart Skinner the shutout. He had a fantastic game last night. So what if he missed 5 minutes? Just give it to him. But that is it for today's recap of last night's game. But what's next for the Oilers? Of course, you can't sit on that win for too long, as they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins tomorrow night, Thursday, January 9th, on Sportsnet, 6 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain, in a building and team that the Oilers have had success against so far this season. But Kris Knoblauch, he's absolutely not happy with where the Oilers are, or I wouldn't say not happy, but there is still work to be done. There's teams that we want to pass. There's teams that are playing better than us and ahead of us in the standings, and there are teams that want to catch us. If we're not getting better every day, we're going to get past, and we're not going to be able to catch those other teams that we feel that we can. We're obviously happy with our game this last month or so, but we've been winning some games, but it's far from perfect. We need some stuff to work on. That's exactly when you want to hear from your head coach there. His head's not up in the clouds there. He's not, pretending everything is all right. Sure, team's great, but again, still work to be done in that locker room. And there's still work to be done, in the standings there. You can see the top 6 teams in the Western Conference all in the win category. Quite recently, the Winnipeg Jets did beat the Nashville Predators last night, but of course, you still have to catch Vegas. You have to keep the Los Angeles Kings at bay, and there's also the other teams that you could, potentially meet in the third round in the Western Conference Final, like the Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild, or even the Winnipeg Jets. All 3 teams in the Central, given the Oilers fits, but who's to say the Oilers can't beat them? I mean, since November 23rd, which again, bit cherry-picked here, but it works for a narrative. Tied for first point percentage, first in goals per game, tied for first goals against per game, second power play, and first in team save percentage. So I think that's pretty decent to say the least here regarding the Edmonton Oilers. They are on a heater, and they are one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. Folks, that is fantastic to say regarding this team, especially since, you were here with me since the beginning of the season. It was a little dark to begin the season, but you remember who exactly this team is, and they did the exact same thing last year. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about last night's game and what you think about the games upcoming. Also, make sure to subscribe again. On the road to 2,500 subscribers, so make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day. We will be back tomorrow for a Pens Oilers preview. Take care. I'm Matt.